But the Saiyans have finished violating Broly by using fusion, and Goku shows up at Vegeta's house ready to train. But the prince is actually considerate for his neighbours, so he suggests that they train in the gravity room instead. As they clash, Vegeta asks on what's going on with Goku's Ultra Instinct, and Goku replies saying that he hasn't used it ever since the Tournament of Power. Vegeta then calls it useless, but are we really gonna forget that he was crying like a baby in the last arc because he was surpassed by Goku? Anywho, both Saiyans get an alert from Bulma, and she says that a random gang is trying to kidnap Boo from Hercule's place. Goku's kind enough to give Vegeta a free Uber ride, but the prince refuses, saying that he will fly to Hercules himself in 5 seconds. We then cut to Hercules' 5-star mansion, and Boo's being pulled on a stretcher like he's suffering from an ACL injury. The Earth's champion then pulls out a Glock and starts firing at the criminals, but one of them takes out a Glock of his own and fires at Hercules' bullet, destroying it. He then tries to reason with Hercule, but Goku teleports in, and then Vegeta shows up a couple seconds later. You've got me thinking that both Saiyans are A-listers, because this criminal realizes it's the actual Goku and Vegeta. Like, bro, if you want an autograph, just ask them. Goku locks in and proceeds to karate chop one of them, and kicks the Nerf guns out of the hands of the other members. The main criminal is not letting that slide, and he teleports behind Goku.
Oh shit, not good.
Stunning him on the spot, causing him to fall right asleep. Vegeta and Hercule are absolutely losing it, and the criminal appears behind Vegeta and gives him the same treatment as Goku. The prince really got caught in the crossfire for doing absolutely nothing.
Got a blast!
Anywho, Goku wakes up to be greeted by Jaku right in front of his face. And Jaku's kind of confused on why Goku and Vegeta are brought along with Boo. Goku rightfully questions where they are, and Jaku answers saying that they're in the Galactic Patrol HQ. The one who speed blitz both Saiyans is also here, and his name is Meris, who is the MVP of this agency, managing a whopping 104 sectors. That's just a tad more than Jaku, and Goku wonders how many he manages, and Jaku replies saying that he only does 3. Anyway, Meris explains that they need to recapture an evil criminal, and to do this, he requires a certain individual that lies dormant within Majin Buu, the Grand Supreme Kai.
Flashback.
So the light drizzle of meteors are heading straight for the Kais, but the Grand Supreme Kai is able to leap like Suyu Asaway to dodge them. However, it's already too late because another meteor hits the Grand Supreme Kai straight in the cranium. The South Supreme Kai thinks his friend is 6 feet under, but even with his BMI, the Grand Supreme Kai is able to hold that meteor and tosses it back into space. It turns out that this meteor shower is being caused by this hooded figure, and he aims his hand towards Saturn and drains all the life energy out of the planet. There was a literal Eevee living on this planet looking really confused, and the animal starts looking really decrepit and drops to the ground. He then compresses all that energy into a singular ball and opens his mouth to eat it like an apple. This gives the villain a major power boost, and the Grand Supreme Kai accepts his defeat. A vertically stretched Jaku reveals that the villain's name is Moro, and he's been charged with the destruction of multiple planets in the solar system. The Galactic Police realize that they're complete fodder, and they're relying on the Grand Supreme Kai to stop him for good. Anyway, the Kai realizes that he has to seal Moro's magic away by using his god power, and he hasn't taught this to anyone else because it's far too dangerous to use. He then fires a laser beam straight at Moro, giving him an electric shock, and this plan was a great success, allowing for the Galactic Police to imprison the tyrant, but at the cost of the Kai's godly power.
End of flashback.
Meris explains that Moro was so deadly even without his magic that he was forced to undergo the death penalty, but since no one was able to kill him, he received life imprisonment instead. Anywho, Boo is still sleeping, and one of the patrolmen tried to wake him up like it's a school day, but Boo grabs his neck and tosses him into his fellow colleague. Realizing that Boo's not going to wake up anytime soon, Goku offers to help catch Moro, and Meris is absolutely delighted to hear that. Whilst the two of them are discussing about Broly, Vegeta comments on how him and Goku were both speed blitzed by Meris, showing that the patrolman is a skilled fighter in his own right. Anywho, both Saiyans are finally appointed as part of the Galactic Patrol, and Jaku's ready to give both of them some new official uniform, but Goku flat out says,
"That shit is fucking trash, dog."
So to compromise, the Galactic Patrol put their trademark symbol on Goku and Vegeta's current clothes, and for their first mission, they're going to be observing Meris trying to retrieve some stolen goods from the Macaroni gang. Speaking of which, the gang have hijacked the train loaded with blue Chaos Emeralds, and the Paw Patrol have been dispatched to stop them, but the criminals shoot out their vehicles, causing them to fall into the abyss. Thankfully, the Galactic Patrol are here to save the day, and Meris realizes that the valuable they're stealing is called Blue Aurum, which is normally used as a fuel source, but in the wrong hands, it can be used as a nuclear warhead. Meris proceeds to land on the train, and one of them opens fire, but Meris hits them with the weave. He is then greeted by the gang leader named Pasta, but Meris is not here to chit-chat, so he asks him to throw down his pistol. Pasta then charges up his firearm with Ki and tosses it to Meris, causing it to fall between two carriages, but this was all according according to plan, and Pasta hits the Thanos snap to explode the train itself. Another gang member named Penne begins moving like Mr. Fantastic to reach and pull a lever underneath, causing Maris to switch tracks. Pasta then opens fire and blows up the train track on Maris's side, but with his quick thinking, the patrolman turns on his jet-powered boots and holds onto the carriage to stop it from falling. Jarko then helps to retrieve the gems, but Maris has already disappeared and he starts running on the tunnel like he's Sonic. The patrolman then lands at the front of the train, and I genuinely want to know, how did Shaun the Sheep of all people become a conductor? Anyway, the Macaroni gang fly away with some cargo thinking they're going to be filthy rich, but out of nowhere Goku is able to intercept them. I can't lie, him on a windshield is one of the most terrifying versions of Goku. Maris thanks Goku for the help, but bro has already meddled with their spaceship, causing one of their thrusters to be disabled. Vegeta realizes that Goku wasn't even needed and notes that Maris was more focused on saving the conductors than anything else. But the prince is annoyed at himself for not noticing that Maris sabotaged their ship. The Macarini gang have finally been captured, and Vegeta thinks Maris could have got the job done even faster, accusing him of hiding his true power, but the patrolman denies such things. Suddenly they get a report saying that one of the Galactic Patrol squads have actually found Moro, so Goku begins searching as well, and he spots Moro relatively quickly, but the goat does the most coldest thing ever. He starts smiling back at Goku. Vegeta notices that Goku's tweaking like crazy and decides to look for Moro himself, but Goku demands him not to do so because Moro knows that he's being looked for. Vegeta wonders if Moro's key is very large, but Goku says no, so the prince then questions if Moro actually has God Key, but Goku says it's not that either. Goku then describes Moro's key as a bunch of people screaming in pain, and you know a Dragon Ball villain introduction is 10 out of 10 when Goku is not excited to fight him. Maris understands this uneasiness, saying that Moro's very energy is the definition of murdered souls, due to him absorbing all the life force out of a planet. We then transition to a spaceship containing Moro and an ex-Freezer Force soldier named Cranberry. The goat knows that Goku is looking for him and starts having a minor headache due to Moro reaching his limit already, so Cranberry starts speeding things up a bit. Anywho, Jarko thinks that Moro's satnav is faulty because there's no planets in the direction that Moro's actually heading, but Goku's actually taken this route before when he went to see Dende. No one is supposed to know that New Namek is actually a thing, but Moro's recent return of magic allows him to scan the whole planet. Pasta then tells him that the Namekians have their own set of Dragon Balls, and Jarko's bamboozled on how he knows about them, but it turns out that Cranberry actually told him about how Frieza went after these balls himself. Pasta thought that Cranberry was actually capping, but looking at Jarko's reaction verifies that it's all complete facts.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Moro understands that he hit the jackpot when his magic returned just a few years ago, allowing him to escape prison, and Cranberry thanks Moro for bailing him out too, but the goat hits him with the most sinister glare. Moro begins to fact-check Cranberry's tale, wondering if the Dragon Balls can really grant any wish, and Cranberry replies saying they actually grant 3. But the soldier asks Moro to allow him to have a wish of his own, and the goat wholeheartedly agrees. The Saiyans know that Moro's going to drop out New Namek any minute now, so Goku uses instant transmission to teleport him and Vegeta to the planet, allowing them to have a head start against Moro. But Maris warns them too late, saying it's too dangerous to fight Moro right now. Both Saiyans have arrived at New Namek, and Goku tells the whole Namekian village that Moro is going to land any minute now, so he advises that they grab their Dragon Balls and start booking it in the other direction. All the Namekians comply with zero hesitation, and a spaceship lands a second later. And the way Moro walks out of his spaceship really had me thinking that Palpatine somehow returned a second time. Anyway, the goat epitomizes every single Fortnite sweat, saying that he hasn't went outside in 10 million years. But don't let the lack of grass touching fool you, because Moro darts his eyes towards the Namekian house and starts playing Dragon Ball The Breakers against a kid named Eska. Moro uses the force to grab the child and begins absorbing his life energy to reach his level 2. But suddenly Vegeta kicks Eska out of Moro's grasp and brings the kid back to his Namekian elder. If that wasn't cool enough, Vegeta proceeds to talk about how he regrets hurting these Namekians back in the Namek saga, and it's honestly beautiful seeing Vegeta's character develop like this. Anywho, Vegeta rushes in as a Super Saiyan, but Moro evades all of Vegeta's attacks with such ease. The goat then gets on all fours to leap onto his spaceship, giving Raspberry a front row seat to the fight at hand. Moro then tells Vegeta that he should sit down, big fella, and forces the prince to hit the bingo pose whilst he's being sent into the nearest mountain. As all hope is lost, the landscape explodes with a brilliant red aura, revealing that Vegeta is now at Super Saiyan God. The prince then hits the officer Earl Run, pressuring Moro to tap further into the dark side, but Vegeta dodges left and right like it's Subway Surfers. The goat parries the Saiyan's initial punch, but Vegeta catches him off guard and gives Moro the nastiest chin check. He's literally got Moro admiring the Namekian sky like he's a tourist. Vegeta's quite disappointed that the Galactic Patrol was scared of a pensioner, and Moro proceeds to throw all sorts of rubble at the prince, but Vegeta clears all of it with one effortless swipe. However, the goat takes off his robe and decides to take this fight seriously by using his magic. He then powers up like a typical Dragon Ball villain, which causes magma to spew out of the ground. This special move that Moro's conjured up actually originates from New Namek itself, but the goat is able to manipulate it to his very desires. And oh nah, Moro's first magma strike literally has Vegeta in the fetal position. The prince gets caught by more of Moro's attacks, so he escapes to the sky, but the range of the magma extends even further, causing Vegeta to turn into monkey suit. Luckily, he's able to break free of the cobblestone and charges in straight for Moro, but the goat puts down his firewalls to switch to defense mode. With the sheer number of firewalls he's placed down, you'd think that Moro was making a fortune in cybersecurity. The tyrant then gives Vegeta the most devious grin and uses more of his magic to transition into attack mode. Noticing that Vegeta's in a bit of a pickle, Goku offers to sub in, but Vegeta tells him to shush his mush. The prince then tells Moro that he can't keep spamming that move, but the goat corrects him, saying that he can actually do so until the planet offs itself. With this new info, Vegeta realizes that he can't recapture Moro, especially since he's got no more transformations up his sleeve.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
He then tries to convince Moro that he's better off not killing both him and Goku, so Moro explains that he's after the Dragon Balls and wonders if Vegeta knows how they work, but the prince gives him a big fat no. As his punishment, Vegeta receives more magma, but he's able to blast it, causing the magma to cool right down.
Damn, he really about to rock my shit.
Moro serves Vegeta even more on his plate, and the prince wants him to spill the beans, asking what he's gonna wish for, because at his current power he would solo all of Dragon Ball Z, but Moro isn't satisfied by that, saying that in his prime he would have obliterated both Saiyans and the entire planet in the blink of an eye. Vegeta realizes that Moro would wish for his power back, and literally calls the goat rotten scum that's worth killing for sure. So the Saiyan begins to emit a blue aura, bulks up his muscles, and now has blue eyes. This allows the prince to push back Moro's attack with such force. He then stands proud as a Super Saiyan Blue and reveals that he was hiding his true intent. In response, Moro hurtles a whole tsunami at Vegeta like it's Boxing Day 2004, so the prince levels up even further by turning Blue Evolution and proceeds to fly straight at the magma. Bro then does the ultimate disrespect by surfing on Moro's attack, and Goku has to be triggered that Vegeta stole his whole flow. The prince then gets off at his destination and loads up a kick targeted straight at Moro's sternum. Thankfully, the goat is able to get a nice warm bath, and Vegeta reverts to base. However, Goku wasn't even watching the fight because he was too busy admiring the Namekian fauna and notices that one of the trees is slowly withering away. Anywho, the goat gets out of the lake and Vegeta insists that he will avenge these Namekians by putting Moro down for good. However, Vegeta's cold speech is rudely interrupted by Cranberry flying away.
Bye, have a great time.
So Moro takes this opportunity to fire at both Saiyans, producing a smokescreen. He then charges up a powerful ki blast, and I'm genuinely thinking that he's gonna pull a Kid Buu and wipe out the whole planet in one singular move. But Moro subverts all expectations by compressing his attack and munches on the ball, granting him an immense stat boost. With one index finger, Moro sits Cranberry right to the ground and reassures the soldiers, saying that he will win. Meris's anxiety is fully justified, but Vegeta still thinks that this power boost is not enough to surpass Super Saiyan Blue. There's no way he's holding Blue that highly, as if it didn't catch so many L's in the past. Anyway, Vegeta begins to transform, but he just stands there looking all goofy and base. Goku tells him to chop chop, saying that he can only beat Moro if he turns blue. So Vegeta decides to end this banter and transforms again, but suddenly Vegeta realizes that he can't even turn Super Saiyan. Jargo puts 2 and 2 together, realizing that Moro doesn't just absorb the planet itself, but also the life force of every single organism living on it. This also means that Moro can just weaken both Goku and Vegeta without even attacking them, and it's that sole reason why Meris did not want both Saiyans to go to Namek. We then cut to Vegeta's head being used as a dodgeball and getting tossed around the whole map. Moro then violates Vegeta by making him eat his own words, saying that he was just hiding his true intent. Goku can't stand that his best buddy is being used for Wii Sports, so he charges in with a kneecap, but Moro hits him with the... And the goat does the ultimate violation by grabbing Goku's ankle and gives him the Broly special, causing the Saiyan to have one concussion after another. But we're not even done yet, because Moro finishes prepping his meal by literally cooking up Goku to a scorching well done. Vegeta then jumps into the air, firing off a Gallic gun, but the goat literally says, "I want a piece of that!" and proceeds to eat Vegeta's attack for lunch. Meanwhile, on Beerus' planet, the god of destruction is getting absolutely bored out of his mind, and Whis notices that the Namekian planet is going through a serious decline. However, Beerus is elated because the villain that's causing this is doing his job for him. So the angel asks him if he's going to intervene, but Beerus passes due to Namek having no food, and that's because the Namekians only drink water.
Meanwhile,
Both Saiyans are on their last legs, and Goku realizes that they have to ditch the Namekians to get back to Meris, but it turns out that Goku is so tuckered out that he can't even use instant transmission. That explosion was so devastating that Vegeta was forced into his Buu Saga outfit. Moro's kind of surprised that the two Saiyans put up a good fight even though they never existed in the Heian era, and he has to have some sort of hatred for Goku because he flat out knees Goku in the stomach and grabs his neck. And just as I thought that Vegeta got out scot-free, Moro grabs him using the force and absorbs the energy from both Saiyans. He then chows down on the food and Moro begins to evolve. And that meal was so scrumptious to the point that Moro gained a whole 6-pack. Anywho, Cranberry walks up to the goat and starts glazing him so badly, and he tries to convince Moro that he wasn't spamming the flee button, but he can already smell that Cranberry was just capping. The soldier then drops the axe, and Moro wonders about how he would even find said Dragon Balls, so Cranberry presents his scouter like it's show and tell, and mentions that he can locate the villages that house the wish-granting orbs. Anywho, both criminals waddle into their spaceship, and Cranberry questions if Goku and Vegeta have actually hit the bucket, so Moro reassures him that those drains of energy will die sooner or later. With the Saiyans eliminated from the equation, they now begin searching for their first Dragon Ball. So Goku and Vegeta have been KO'd by Moro, and they're forced into a Namekian hospital, allowing for Eska to heal Goku back awake. Goku tells him not to overdo it, but the child says he's just fine, and he says that his medkit powers may be really nerfed compared to Dende, but he's still able to help the Saiyans recover. Eska then heals Vegeta and thanks the prince for saving him from getting diddied by Moro. Vegeta then queries how long they've been out for, and it turns out that they've been unconscious for 3 whole days. During that time, the goat has invaded 3 entire villages, and is now heading for the 4th one, meaning that he's got 3 Dragon Balls to his name.
Oh my god! What is that?
We then cut to Moro force choking a Namekian, and he gives directions to the nearest flame, causing the guy to get burnt up into a crisp. Moro then sets the whole village ablaze, demanding that they give up their Dragon Ball, but one of the Namekians is brave enough to refuse him. Fair play, but bro, you just saw your friend get the Anakin treatment. And also, why are they still resisting? You don't mean to tell me they forgot what happened when Frieza was here. Anywho, Moro hits him with causing the Namekian to turn from rare to well done. And for the icing of the cake, Moro steals Gogeta's quote and tells them, Anywho, Goku's vexed that he still can't use instant transmission, but the Namekian elder informs him that they've cooked up a plan during his 3 whole days. Their plan is to use assimilation just like how Piccolo did with Kami and Nail. We then see 3 Namekians flying at top speed to Moro's location, and one of them grabs the other 2, causing them to merge together into a single fighter. The elder tells him that it's this technique that allows them to survive throughout many generations, and him and the other Namekians start glazing this merged fighter, calling him the savior of their race. The merged Namekian is finally here and is ready to throw hands with Moro, and I'm fully invested in cheering him on. Get him the utensils right now, because this guy is gonna cook. The goat then mocks everyone for glazing this man to death, and he says he couldn't even look at his face because he died too quickly. Everyone is now completely horrified, and Vegeta realizes that Moro's gotten even stronger since the last time they fought him. Eska then puts the blame on himself, but Goku tries to be optimistic, saying that if it wasn't for him, they'd be at King Yema's by now. And there's still a glimmer of hope since Moro doesn't know about the last Dragon Ball they're holding. Anywho, Cranberry's having a hard time trying to find the wish-granting orb, but the goat's eyes drift towards another building, and he asks Cranberry to search there instead. The soldier acquires it instantly, and he realizes that Moro can search for the Dragon Balls directly. So this means the goat is now a walking, talking dragon radar. He then puts his ability to good use because you see this Namekian running with the Dragon Ball, and you see the goat shadow right on the floor.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Moro is now chilling with 6 Dragon Balls, and he locates the last one, which is where they first landed. Anywho, the Namekians have finally fixed the Saiyans' clothes, but they suddenly feel the goat's ominous presence, realizing that Moro is heading towards them right now. They then piece together that Moro had to have sensed the Dragon Balls directly, and this is because the goat is not targeting any other survivors around Namek. Goku puts on his gi ready to throw hands with Moro, and just before he's about to do the same, Vegeta questions how the Elder feels about him now after murdering those Namekians all those years ago. The Elder realizes that the prince is referring to that time that he was stat padding his KD against that one Namekian village, so he bluntly tells Vegeta that they don't forget those things so easily, and the prince assumes they must have held some sort of grudge against him. However, that is not the case due to the fact that a cycle of revenge will only bring about more conflict, because at the end of the day, the Namekian tribe only want to preserve peace in their home. Both Saiyans jump onto the high ground, and Vegeta requests that Goku prioritizes restoring Namek to how it was once before. Moro then senses that Goku and Vegeta are still alive and promises that he will kill them this time. Goku and Vegeta spot Moro's ship, and then they power up, acknowledging that they might not see tomorrow. So they're ready to go out in a bang by diving straight into the GOAT. All of a sudden the Galactic Patrol show up, and the figure stands proud on top of the vehicle, aka the MVP himself, Merus. The patrolman locks in by firing at Moro, which causes their aircraft to be severely damaged. This forces Moro to hit the eject button, so Merus orders the driver to hit the sky limit. Moro notices their ascent and really does not want to be caught with a 5-star wanted level, so he initiates with a drizzle of Vegeta's technique, but that move is on a losing streak and it continues to disappoint because Merus casually weaves out the way. The best way to recapture Moro would be to use some Pokeballs, but since the Galactic Patrol cannot afford it, Merus has to resort to using a really large net specifically designed for the GOAT himself. And Moro proceeds to reenact how every single Pokemon feels after being captured by a trainer. Goku then greets Merus, but the patrolman says that he can only hold him for a short period of time, so the next step of the plan comes into fruition, where the Galactic Patrol push out the piece of bubblegum that takes up 3 aeroplane seats, aka Margin Buu. Vegeta's confused that Buu is still sleeping, but Jarko tells him that he's just suffering from motion sickness. However, Buu abruptly wakes up and it turns out that his memories have been restored thanks to their very own hypnotist. And whatever the Galactic Patrol have done up there has worked like a charm, because Buu recognizes Moro instantly and the GOAT thinks he's looking at the Grand Supreme Kai. In a fit of rage, Moro explodes out the net and these two are ready to settle the score after millions of years. Buu then powers up, awakened by Fury, and he initiates by charging at Moro, and the GOAT takes the liberty to raise his arm up to place down his firewall, and I swear Buu must have taken notes from the bear hunt, because he doesn't go under it, he doesn't go over it, he goes right through it to give Moro a knuckle sandwich. The GOAT readies himself for Buu's assault and counterattacks by impaling the piece of bubblegum.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
And he makes full use of his BMI by fleeing Moro away, and Buu activates his inner pea shooter because he starts firing with his mouth, which forces the GOAT to endure the barrage. Moro switches up by using the planet's energy to attack, and he sends it to Buu, but the bubblegum starts doing key ups with it. Out of nowhere, Buu starts dancing in the air like it's Strictly, and he gives Moro a devastating blow, causing the GOAT to have an intimate relationship with the concrete. After analysing the fight so far, Vegeta concludes that Buu is immune to Moro's energy absorption, and this is because Buu hasn't gotten any weaker. Buu then uses his candy beam to turn Moro into chocolate, but the GOAT is able to dodge it at the cost of his dignity because he starts doing the dab. And to be honest, he should have accepted his fate right then, because Buu flat out sits on him and he starts pummeling him to death, spamming the square triangle combo.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
Moro then starts gasping for air and takes the opportunity to fire a mouth beam, causing Buu to resemble Anne Boleyn. However, this does not affect Buu because he just warps his head back into existence to knock Moro off panel. And just to add some disrespect, Buu starts hitting the
You naughty, you teasing me, you naughty.
Goku thinks that he's not only just immune to Moro's magic, but Buu is actually way stronger than before, and Merus theorizes that this may be the case due to the fact that those memories have unlocked his latent potential. Meanwhile, Buu literally has Moro spinning around as if it was a Beyblade and sends the GOAT through an entire mountain, but Buu hasn't even finished violating him yet, because he multiplies his arms by 3 and starts smashing the square button into an infinite combo, whilst moving him around the battlefield as if he was excavating a whole quarry. From the bottom of my heart, if Buu had these kind of combos in Sparking Zero, everyone would be breaking their controller. Anywho, Merus advises Buu to seal Moro's magic away while he can't fight back, and the bubblegum gives him the green light, so he uses his extra fist to pin Moro down. Out of the blue, the sky goes dark and Porunga has been summoned by Cranberry himself. The first wish is used to heal the soldier back to full HP, and the two Saiyans proceed to fly as fast as possible to get to Cranberry's location. Moro then steals Xavier's technique and speaks to Cranberry telepathically, demanding that he gets his magic back. But the soldier is a little hesitant because he really wants his wish to escape to a remote planet, so the GOAT threatens to chase him down to the end of time if he tries to betray him, and this was enough for Cranberry to ask Porunga to restore all of Moro's.
Hey bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet!
Porunga now has one last wish left to grant, so Cranberry wishes to escape to a place that no one can ever find him, but his mistake was not using way fewer words because he gets impaled from the back, and we all know who did it. And just to show a tiny bit of respect, I want to explain how Cranberry ended up being accomplices with Moro.
Flashback.
So the soldier was one of the troops that went to Namek the first time, but he was so awful at his job that he got destroyed by a regular Namekian. Zarbon couldn't look at this disgrace any longer, so he kicked him, causing the fatal blow. But remember when that wish was made to revive everyone that was killed by Frieza and his men? Yeah, that wish actually revived Cranberry because Zarbon counted as part of Frieza's men. And if you couldn't get any more lucky, Cranberry escaped Namek due to Vegeta's space pod being there. But even after living due to a technicality, Cranberry ended up getting arrested by the Galactic Patrol anyway.
End of flashback.
Moro actually has a second wish of his own that is granted by Porunga, and just to be extra, Moro gives Esuke an electric shock before the Dragon Balls disperse across the planet. Goku and Vegeta arrive a tad too late, and they assume that Moro has killed everyone here, but the goat hits him with that objection, explaining that it was all Cranberry's doing, as if he didn't kill anyone himself. Since they know that Moro's first wish was to get his magic back, Goku demands that he spills the beans on what his second wish was, but Moro simply refuses to elaborate and flees from the area. The Galactic Patrol are now here, and Boo somehow does not sound like a caveman for the first time in his life, mentioning that the goat will get all of his strength back by devouring the whole planet. Boo then restores Esuke back to full health, and he instantly runs to Goku and Vegeta, but sadly Boo could not restore the other Namekians, to which everyone mourns for. The gang are then interrupted by powerful tremors across all of Namek, and this is all because of Moro trying to begin his first feast after millions of years. Afterwards, Boo heals both of the Saiyans and he morphs into the Grand Supreme Kai. The deity then gives a quick introduction, and he explains that the only way to stop Moro is to confront him directly. So Goku is ready to do so by using instant transmission, and Meris warns Goku to be wary of his magic. Goku takes all of that into account, and he teleports both the Grand Supreme Kai and Vegeta to Moro's location. So Moro is about to dine in a Namekian suit by devouring the entire planet's energy, but the whole gang join the party and the Saiyans power up to Blue to jump him with zero hesitation. But the goat has to be jump resistant because all three of them end up whiffing their attack. Goku then spots them further away, and Vegeta fires some ki blasts in his direction, where they just end up going right through Moro. The deity then deduces that Moro's real body is not actually here, but that still begs the question of where is Moro absorbing the energy from, and it turns out that the goat himself is perched up on a rock whilst being distant from Namek's atmosphere. Goku is ready to lunge in to give Moro a sternum check, but Vegeta has to remind him that Saiyans are not built to survive in outer space. I'm always going to praise manga Super Goku, but how is he going to forget something that even his abridged counterpart remembers? Anywho, the Kai goes alone to face Moro, but he snaps on a bit of energy to power himself up and catches his fist without a sweat. The goat then demands the deity to get back into the Fortnite locker because he can't stand looking at his revolting face, and just to make sure, he tries to send the Kai back to the lobby. At the same time, Meris notices that Namek is not being drained anymore, so their first plan of action is to get Goku and Vegeta back onto the ship. We then cut to the Grand Supreme Kai and Moro racing like it's Angry Birds Go, so the Kai attempts to throw a ki blast at him, but Moro casually eats it up and headbutts him, which was super effective. And Moro must have forgot that he was a goat because he starts scratching the Kai like a cat, which causes the deity to look like a twisted wet paper towel. Afterwards, Moro is convinced that the Kai has fallen off after 10 million years, but he wasn't going to tolerate such disrespect, so the Kai threatens to seal away Moro's magic.
Oh, scary. Oh, shiver my timbers. Shut up, man.
Anywho, Goku assumes that the Kai sealing move can only be used when Moro is stationary, but Meris corrects him saying that he can't use it full stop. And this is likely due to Boo splitting of his good and evil halves, where Kid Boo actually obtained all of the god power required for the sealing technique instead of the Fat Boo. Jarko is also creeped out by Fat Boo because he multiplied his arms earlier when fighting Moro, but Esuke thinks that's your typical Tuesday because his people can regrow their limbs. Meanwhile, Moro fires at the Grand Supreme Kai to Kingdom Come, but the deity thinks he's put all of his points into stealth. However, Moro casually blocks that punch, and why is he deviously smiling like that? Don't tell me he's putting that on Instagram. The goat starts doing acrobatics to kick him downwards, and the Kai got hit so hard that he started watching an unskippable cutscene of Goku versus Kid Buu. And as we all know, Kid Buu got eviscerated by Goku's Spirit Bomb. The deity then understands that his god power and Kid Buu shared the same fate, and Moro invaded his privacy by taking a glimpse of those memories as well, ecstatic that no one in this universe can seal away his magic. In the meantime, Meris wants to confirm if the Saiyans can actually beat Moro, so Vegeta explains that without magic, they're the stronger fighters when they're using Super Saiyan Blue. The patrolman is elated to hear that, and he's prepared to drag Moro back to Namek's surface for them two to finish the job. So he puts on his spacesuit and uses his net as web shooters to grab Moro's arm, and tries to pull the goat away like a magnet, but Moro wins the tug of war. Meris then escorts the Kai to a local asteroid to inform him about the plan that he's brewed up, and wants to know if the deity can still use instant transmission, to which the Kai says yes. Moro interrupts the conversation, so Meris shoots him with his pistol, but he just dodges it a bit too easily. However, the goat is confused with why the patrolman is coming at him with a Nerf gun, but Meris remains silent and continues to fire at him with the aim of a stormtrooper, which angers Moro. This was in fact an 1000 IQ played by Meris because he actually created a crevice within the rock, and as a result, Meris was finally able to use his web shooters to fling the rock at Moro. The goat breaks the boulder with such ease, but this was just a distraction for Meris to swing at him like Tarzan and power on his jet-powered boots right in Moro's face. With Moro blinded, the Grand Supreme Kai takes the opportunity to grab him and successfully teleports him back to Namek. Meris then gives a thumbs up to the Saiyans and flies all the way back to the ship. And can we discuss how Monster Carrot was able to travel all the way here from the moon? Anyway, Goku and Vegeta arrive on Namek as well, and they're ready to give him a piece of humble pie, but Moro isn't phased in the slightest, and he notices that he has to jog their memories of something important, aka the third wish. All of a sudden, a hologram of Porunga presents itself at the galactic prison, and Esker finally remembers what their wish was, because prior to this, he was actually brainwashed by Moro and Cranberry, and Moro finally spills the beans on what his wish was. He had demanded that every single convict from the galactic prison to be set free. The prisoners make their presence known by turning on the engines, which erupts the whole battlefield into inferno, and the leader of the convicts named Sagambo starts glazing the goat the same way that Araume does to Sukuna. Moro then shares his strength with his new allies, and they begin to jump Goku and Vegeta. How on earth am I supposed to take these guys seriously when one of them looks like an expired parsnip? Anywho, Goku seems to be doing quite well to fend them off using Super Saiyan Blue, and the two Saiyans pull out a really smart strategy where Goku keeps them at a distance using a force push, allowing for Vegeta to lob some ki blasts at Clayface and his friends to finish them off. Disaster then strikes because both Saiyans revert to Super Saiyan God, and they look up to see Moro being the root cause of it because of his energy absorption. Goku tries to stop his meal, but Sagambu leaps from the top floor, and this next part is quite disrespectful because Goku reverts to Super Saiyan 3, reducing his power to the point that Sagambu cleanly punches his face to send him back into the ground. Good lord, Kafu was speaking the honest truth with that Super Saiyan 3 tweet. Anywho, Vegeta's sadly not doing any better because he starts looking like Rudolph, and the two Saiyans now only have enough energy to transform into mere Super Saiyans. Out of nowhere, the Grand Supreme Kai starts hitting the... and Vegeta can sense that the battle in space with Moro took a huge toll on him. It's at this point that Goku and Vegeta are actually getting overwhelmed by the sheer number of convicts, so Goku wants to know what Moro's motives truly are. The goat explains that he wants to create a galaxy that he can eat as much as Casio, and he admits that he is a hater on anyone that would want to preserve peace in the solar system, thinking that anyone who would strive for such waffle should be eradicated. The two Saiyans are so exhausted that they can't even transform anymore, but luckily for them, Meris and Jaco are here to support them with cover fire, and the patrolman demands that they have to retreat no matter what. The deity is finally awake thanks to Esker, but to be blunt, you should really get back to napping, because 1, you look really cursed with your eyes open, and 2, you've done absolutely nothing since you've got here. Sagambo spots a Galactic Patrol aircraft and is about to shoot, but Meris fires at the leader, knocking the gun out of his hand, and Sagambo is losing it because he swears that Meris has Jarvis levels of aimbot. The deity and Esker head back to Galactic Patrol HQ, and Goku is about to do the same with the rest of the gang, but Vegeta starts having a hissy fit about using techniques all of a sudden, and the prince just blasts off on his own, leaving everyone behind. Seconds away from being swarmed by the prisoners, Goku was able to teleport everyone back to the Galactic Patrol HQ and accidentally interrupts the Galactic King's bath. Vegeta then hitches a ride onto the Galactic Patrol ship, where the driver named Iruko is about to take them back to headquarters. But Vegeta orders Iruko to go to Yardrat instead. If you're enjoying the video so far and you want to see more of this, please do subscribe. Anywho, Namek is now a desolate wasteland, and Moro powers up to the point that he's completed his physical recovery. That feast was so delicious that Moro didn't even need Manscaped to shave off his beard. Without the facial hair, it just cements that this Moro form is my favourite one of the lot. Sagambo then asks which group they should chase after first, but Moro tells them to leave them be because he will just kill them the next time they meet. For the time being, the goat wants to know if there's any other planets to snack on, so Sagambo gives them some planets to choose from as if it was a whole menu. Afterwards, Vegeta notices that Moro has gone off a whole different direction, but Iruko can't track it because Sagambo's ship is just that fast. Vegeta then realizes that he's referring to the one that embarrassed Goku Super Saiyan 3, but the prince is certain that even Trunks could demolish him if it wasn't for Moro's help. But Iruko is more surprised that Vegeta of all people is a father. The agent then wonders what he plans to do when they arrive at Yardrat, so the prince informs him that the tribe there use a bunch of weird techniques such as Goku's instant transmission, and his goal is to learn a trick or two to help him beat Moro. However, the prince has to reinforce that this kind of strategy is something that he does not relish. Vegeta then heads back into the bedroom and is absolutely fuming that he was made a fool back on Namek, so he promises to come out as a victor over Moro, the convicts, and even Goku. I really don't like how Goku's being framed as the main priority, because after all of the great character development going on in this arc, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth seeing Vegeta's character regress like that. At the other end of the galaxy, Moro and his men Titan have invaded planet Zoon, and we witness a prisoner named Shiromeka start violating all of Pui-Pui's family.
I found the treasure!
Sagambo is ready to head back home, but Pui-Pui's brother makes a final stand, and it was all in vain because a convict named 7-3 pulls out his eye-beams to laser him to death. Sagambo orders him to cease fire since Moro needs the victims alive to steal their energy, and the goat proceeds to do exactly that while gulping the whole thing down in one bite. The Galactic Patrol then receive reports of Planet Zoom being wiped off the map, and sadly they're unable to lock onto Moro's location because they're moving too fast. Meris thinks that there's a 0% chance of coming out victorious, but Goku wants to know if he truly means that if he was actually fighting seriously. That question confuses the patrolman, but at the corner of his eye, Meris notices that Goku is about to clench his fist and proceeds to evade Goku's punch in the very last second. Goku's really intrigued with what Meris can really do, so the two of them agree to do a sparring match in the Galactic Patrol's very own training room. The Saiyan kicks things off by lunging in at the patrolman, but Meris continues to remain on defense mode. Goku then jumps to Super Saiyan, but Meris retaliates by pulling out his arms and dodges Goku's attack using telekinesis. The patrolman refuses to attack Goku, but he has to clown on him somehow, so he forces the Saiyan to hit the... To readjust his body, Goku transforms into Super Saiyan 3, but once again in this arc, that form makes Goku look like complete fodder. The Saiyan takes it up a notch by turning Super Saiyan God, but the sheer aura of the form causes the training room to collapse, leading to Goku concluding the training session early. The Saiyan then requests Meris to train with him, because he is 100% sure that the patrolman can help him master a certain technique that requires the body to move on instinct. Meris is happy to assist with his training, but he recommends another training location that can withstand Goku's full power. Meanwhile, the Macarena gang have broken out of prison thanks to the wish, but unlike the other convicts, they do not swear allegiance to Moro. Anyway, Penne had overheard that Earth had their own version of the Blue Chaos Emeralds thanks to her enhanced hearing, so Pasta is ready to set a course for Earth. And seriously, guess who lacks the ability to keep their mouth shut for more than a second?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Vegeta has finally arrived at Yardra, and he is greeted by two different versions of their species. They initially mistaken Iriko for Vegeta, but the patrolman is able to clear up all of the confusion. Anywho, the Yardratian then mentions that the Ginyu Force were actually here causing a ruckus before Goku completely humbled them, and this begs the question for the prince, wondering which one of these guys taught Goku instant transmission. Suddenly, the literal P-Brain disables his shadow clone technique, and the sole Yardratian guides Vegeta to Goku's mentor, Elder Pai Bara. Somehow, he also gets confused between Iriko and Vegeta, even though you can see that McDonald's hairline from 1,000 miles away. Vegeta then questions the Elder if he has any techniques to defeat Moro, but he assumes that there must be a misunderstanding because their race are not a jack of all trades, and instead they focus on honing on one singular ability called Spirit Control. One of the many perks of the ability includes growing in size, and I already knew that Vegeta was sold on the idea because he really wanted to beat the midget allegations to finally be taller than Bulma. Meanwhile, the Macarena gang have finally arrived on Earth, and Piccolo already senses a disturbance in the Force, so he exits the lookout to arrive at their landing location, but they decide to ignore the pacifist route and end up firing at Piccolo with their ship. The Namekian takes his own dodging advice by standing on top of their vehicle, and the three of them realize that melee combat is the only way they're gonna beat him. To burst their bubble, Piccolo slides to the left to avoid their flurry of whip attacks. However, Penne tries to catch him off guard by unleashing her inner grab Piccolo. The Namekian ends up using his own cape as bait and utilizes his own stretchy arm technique to finally defeat the Macarena gang. Jarko then explains to Bulma and the others of the tragedy on Namek and goes on to say that Moro has sent his party of convicts across the entire galaxy. Piccolo has already sent the Macarena gang well on their way, but then they demand them to make sure that the three of them don't escape. Angered at their manipulation, Piccolo shoots down their ship to stop them from leaving Earth's orbit, but it's sadly too late because they just finished their phone call with Moro, which leads to a stronger party being sent directly to Earth. At the same time, Meris is still training Goku, but the Saiyan is getting absolutely clobbered because his emotions are scattered all over the place. Meris describes that emotions like anger or tingly feelings are a great source of power like Goku's Super Saiyan forms, but what the Saiyan is truly after is quite the opposite. The patrolman then goes on to say that for Goku to activate Ultra Instinct once again, he has to stay calm even in an emotionally shocking situation. The pair of them then walk into the pyramids of Giza, which is actually revealed to be another hyperbolic time chamber. But unlike the one on Earth, one day outside is actually only 3 days inside here. But Meris is elated about this because he can actually train Goku at full strength without anyone noticing. Krillin then gets caught up with the recent events and is actually the only one available at the moment to fight Moro's forces. This leaves Jarko warning Krillin and Piccolo Piccolo that the one person that they should be worried about is an android named 7-3, because he has the ability to copy someone else's power for half an hour by grabbing their neck. Krillin then questions how long they've got until the inmates arrive, and Jarko says that they've got 10 days. And just as the Earthling is about to go train, 3 convicts rock up to the lookout using a portal, which was actually a stolen ability from some porcupines.
You what?
Afterwards, Shimaraka greets Pasta to relay a message from the goat himself, which is that anyone that would dare betray him deserves to be exterminated. Before anyone could be sent to the Shadow Realm, Piccolo grabs Shimaraka to iterate that the sanctuary is a no-killing zone, but this was perfect for 7-3 because he seizes the chance to grab Piccolo's neck, causing all of his abilities to be copied. To experiment with his new moveset, the android fires a special beam cannon piercing right through the lookout and ends up punching Jarko right off the platform Super Smash Bros style. The Namekian goes to aid Jarko and Krillin tries to tag along, but he ultimately gets stopped by another criminal named Yumba. The patrolman then scolds the Namekian for getting his neck touched even with his warning, and advises that he should assume that he's fighting himself since the stolen powers are as strong as the original. 7-3 goes to reach Piccolo with his stretchy arms, but the two of them end up locking hands together. This leads to the pair of fighters scrapping like cavemen because they start engaging with headbutts, but 7-3 is able to catch Piccolo by surprise by using his own mouth cannon, forcing the Namekian out the sky. 18 would be embarrassed to watch Krillin's fight because Yumba literally turns himself into a basketball to one-shot Krillin off the platform. Meanwhile, 7-3 and Piccolo are clashing with their special beam cannons, and Piccolo is screaming as if his finger's about to fall off. Like seriously, how are you gonna let the villains use your moves better than you can? However, all hope is not lost because Gohan swoops in by punching 7-3 in the sternum, and he checks on his mentor to see if he's alright. Piccolo decides to save the chit chat for later, but warns Gohan to make sure that 7-3 does not touch his neck, and he confirms that right at this moment, Gohan is the strongest warrior they've got on Earth. 7-3 interrupts their conversation by mashing the key blast button, but this leaves Gohan confused on why in advance being like him is having the aim of a stormtrooper, but the scholar uses his abundance of brain cells to notice that 7-3 is using Piccolo's Hellsing grenade.
Damn. He really about to rock my shit.
After watching Gohan's brilliant performance, the Namekian had to paint the Demon Clan in a good light and gives Gohan his set of clothes. That was enough time for 7-3 to utilize Piccolo's giant mode in an attempt to flatten the two of them like a pancake, but the half Saiyan literally has got him taking up bird watching and fires at 7-3's legs to stagger him before sending the android back into the ground. Shimaraka spots that 7-3 is losing battery and commands the android to grab Gohan's neck instead. However, the half Saiyan is able to evade his clutches and charges up a Kamehameha ready to make 7-3 look like a headless horseman. The android has no choice but to turn off Piccolo's stock, which reverts him back to normal size, but Gohan fires his beam anyway, pressuring 7-3 to switch to someone else's stock, Moro's. This allows 7-3 to munch on Gohan's ki wave, and Moro is fuming that the android is already using his abilities, because that means 7-3's stock has to be replenished again by grabbing the goat's neck, which even makes him feel uneasy. Moro then starts watching the battle unfold on the big TV as if it was a Premier League game, and 7-3 uses their energy absorption to only target the Z fighters, allowing for Shimaraka and Yumba to absolutely violate them. Gohan gets pinned to the ground by Yumba and starts getting hit by the most devious headshots, and Piccolo is watching this in absolute despair because he went out of his way to give Gohan his demon clothes just to get completely embarrassed in them. But Namekian then exclaims that even if they die today, Goku and Vegeta will return to Earth to absolutely destroy them, and Moro hears this and realizes that if he just waits a little bit, then he can chomp down on the biggest banquet that the multiverse has ever seen. The goat must have been so desperate because he can't stand eating any more lunchly served by the galactic prison. Moro orders his convicts to retreat from Earth for the time being because he plans to devour the whole planet only when Goku and Vegeta arrive. Yumba looks disappointed that he can't put the half Saiyan out of his misery, and we really need to study Gohan's decline because how are you gonna go from being evenly matched with Kefla to getting violated by a guy that doesn't even fit into a regular sized photo in the very next arc? Shimaraka then tells the Z fighters that they're returning in Galactic Cycle 7, which is equivalent to 20 days, but Jarko begs for them to push it back to Cycle 8 since Goku and Vegeta won't arrive in time. The convict accepts the offer and the three of them return back to base using the portals that were made earlier. And we have to give Jarko his flowers for being useful for once because he was able to extend the Z fighters grace period to 2 months. If you're enjoying the video so far and want to see more manga content, please do subscribe. Meanwhile, Whis is spectating Goku's training with Meris using his staff, and he's actually waiting at Zeno's front doorstep. The Grand Priest goes to greet his son, wondering if Whis desires for his universe to be saved.
Fuck no,
now, baby.
This is because angels have to remain neutral, meaning that he can't pick between good or evil, and instead wants some clarity for the angel laws. The Grand Priest clocks that Whis wants to talk about the matter of Merus, and it's finally revealed that he's not just a regular patrolman, but also is an angel in training that was dispatched to Universe 7 to broaden his perspective. However, Merus joining the Galactic Patrol to observe the light side had the knock-on effect of him gaining a bias, which means that he's on the cusp of violating the Angel's code of conduct. Whis attempts to persuade his dad to allow him to look after Merus himself by mentioning that the Angel in training has limited himself to mortal weapons and is actually only training Goku. Whis further backs Merus' corner by saying that he's also been training mortals as well, and this eventually causes the Grand Priest to budge, but he also wants to make sure that he does not lose an Angel, troublemaker or not. Meanwhile, Vegeta's all tuckered out after all that Yardrat training, and Elder Paibara notices that Vegeta's spirit is even more polished than Goku's, and as he's about to teach the Saiyan instant transmission, a spaceship crashes into the Yardrat city, which is also carrying more of Moro's men. Vegeta arrives on the scene and Yuzun is ready to dox the Saiyan, so Vegeta makes an energy ball to destroy the walkie-talkie, but accidentally makes it way too big and fires it, destroying the entire city. And this perfectly displays the fruits of Vegeta's Yardrat training. Yuzun was really trying to do his best Namek Goku impression, because he goes like,
I won't let you get away with this.
and pops out his very own monster form. Vegeta reminisces the time that he blew a hole in Zarbon and proceeds to give him a knuckle sandwich, block the overhead before sending him right into the clouds. Yuzun hurtles a building hardened with ki towards the prince, so he knocks it away like it's hot potato, which forces Yuzun to push it into the air, and this buys enough time for the Saiyan to plant his feet into the convict's torso. Yuzun attempts to distract Vegeta by mentioning that Moro is going after Earth, and this actually ended up working to allow the criminal to flee. But before Vegeta could finish him off, the building from earlier catches Yuzun's ship on the way down to end the criminal's life. Iriko exclaims that they should return back to Earth, but Vegeta senses that the planet remains untouched. Without knowing about the 2-month grace period, Vegeta hurries Paibara to finally teach him a technique that could take down Moro. Anywho, Merus is ready to spar with Goku one last time before heading to Earth, and he charges up to unleash his full power, but the pair of them get forced out of the pyramid. Whis was the one that intervened in their training, and Merus was so shook that he goes,
Hey, brother.
Hearing that has Goku finally realizing that Merus was an angel all along, and Whis berates his brother for trying to use his full power against Goku since that still counts as a battle. The angel is even more upset that Merus was going to join Goku in jumping the goat, and this leaves the Saiyan questioning what happens if an angel does fight. So Whis bluntly tells him that angels that violate a code are eradicated from existence like a Thanos snap, and interestingly enough, that's the only way that an angel can die. Whis states that Merus is now his responsibility, and gives his brother his angelic uniform whilst also making him do the Michael Jackson. Merus apologizes to Goku for not seeing it through to the very end, but he entrusts all of his faith into Goku before exiting the mortal realm with Whis. However, there's one small problem. Goku has to pilot the ship himself all the way back to Earth. Galactic Patrol have finally made it to Earth, and Jarko's desperately trying to hide at the back, but he gets pushed forward to pose up with the Z fighters. Anywho, we actually have more warriors defending the planet unlike the last vid, which includes Roshi, Tien, Chaozu, and even Yamcha. I'm praying that it's actually going to be useful, because last time he was cooked so badly that he got demoted to Goku's personal ambulance. Several of Moro's convicts scatter across the globe to steal the treasure, and most notably they target the richer places like Princess Peach's castle and the Taj Mahal. The Z fighters go their separate ways, and Krillin spots Mickey Mouse as a beast cousin boxing with some soldiers, so he attempts to punch him, but Yumba hits him with that. The criminal has waited 2 whole months for their rematch, but the 3 convicts behind him must have watched too many reels, because they simply don't have the attention span to watch their fight and instead go into the forest to cause more chaos. And Roshi couldn't care less about their criminal background, because he bolts after the female convicts at Sporticus levels of speed to pleasure himself. Meanwhile, Gohan and Piccolo are ready to fight Shimaraka on his own, or so they thought, because 7-3 sneaks up on both of them using the copied abilities of John Cena to obtain their powers. The android fires a special beam cannon at the duo, and I did not know that Gohan had this in his arsenal, because he pulls out a whole shield to nullify his beam. The Half-Saiyan then maneuvers it towards his master to allow him to fire his signature technique at the shield to initiate a beam clash. And 7-3 was never gonna win this, because the two of them start mashing their controllers to the fullest to come out victorious. Oh lord, they have the android resembling the Winter Soldier without his prosthetic. Gohan mentions that they were prepping the entire time for 7-3's copy ability, and so the android switches to Gohan's stock to fire a Dai missile barrage at the pair of them. Gohan and Piccolo take it to the sky, and the Namekian fires several key attacks in 7-3's direction, and this allows Gohan to close the distance because he literally hops on each one as if it was a Minecraft parkour map. As a result, Gohan is able to give 7-3 a knuckle sandwich, sending him into the nearby lagoon. And Jarko is now impressed with their combo moves because 7-3 can only use one set of powers at a time. This next part you're gonna witness literally had me grinning, because Yamcha is able to manhandle 3 convicts in a row without even breaking a sweat. Yamcha's overwhelming strength literally has one of them so puzzled, so he flat out admits that he is one of the strongest earthlings on the entire planet.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Not gonna lie, I had my doubts, but I'm so thankful that Yamcha was given justice in this arc. And to make it even better, he doesn't even flaunt over his victory, deciding to head to another part of the planet to assist his fellow teammates. In the meantime, Gohan fires a Masenko and Piccolo fires a special beam cannon for the two attacks to intertwine, and the explosion was so devastating that 7-3 now begs for a factory reset. But Android plays his final trump card by using Moro's powers to absorb their energy, but when he does so,
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
both 7-3 and Shimareka have their heads dented in like a cartoon character, and it's took long enough for 17 and 18 to eventually join the fray. These two are the perfect matchup against 7-3 because they don't have any ki to be absorbed in the first place. Gohan asks 18 of what's going on with Goten and Trunks, so she tells him that they volunteered once again to be rangers on 17's island. It's actually a shame that we couldn't see those two fight against Moro's forces, because it just means that they're never gonna beat the wasted potential allegations. Anywho, even Frieza gets word of Moro's great escape, but he orders his soldiers to not bother because he doesn't want to taint his reputation by mixing with criminals. And this has Kokono so confused because he swears that this has to be friendly fire. Frieza's babysitter brushes off that notion by elaborating that when they murder inhabitants of a planet they're trying to sell off, it's merely just business. Meanwhile, Bulma has finished setting up some drones for everyone to spectate each match, but when Chi-Chi goes to watch her son's fight against 7-3, it turns out that this monitor is only airing the Krillin show. The Earthling tosses a flurry of destructor discs right at Yumba, but the convict is able to deflect all of them like they're frisbees, and proceeds to unleash a 3-hit combo solely targeting Krillin's big bald head before sitting the Earthling back to ground floor. Just before the Z Fighter title was revoked out of his CV, Krillin snapped his fingers for one of his discs to cut Yumba on the cheek. More of them begin to home on the criminal like their bullet bills, so Yumba hops over all of them, which has the Earthling being moments away from being turned into a Mars bar. However, Krillin decides to use the sparking zero cheese by using an after image to sneak up behind Yumba, and fires a point blank Kamehameha to finally put down the convict for good. However, the entire area has not been cleared yet because Roshi is literally committing SA in the forest, but gets flung out by the 3 convicts who are hoping to get some payback. We then transition to Tien's battle at Peach's castle, but he is dealing 0 damage to his opponent. One of the patrolmen informs Tien that they're dealing with a member of a race of metal men, and the Earthling puts the pieces together, realizing that the enemy that they're facing right now is Universe 7's version of Vegeta. Chaozu finally does something useful in his life by reminding Tien that a metal man's one weakness is insults, and the martial artist is now ready to transform the whole place into a COD lobby.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Oh god, Tien's not even firing any shots, he's just spreading misinformation, because the Metal Man's head is definitely harder than the things, and he definitely weighs way more than half a ton. Look at Dende's reaction, he must be thinking that Tien's performance is embarrassing. Anywho, Chaozu is able to grab the Metal Man's attention, and thankfully he's able to insult the convict properly, which paralyzes the Metal Man to eventually conclude the battle. That fight wasn't even satisfying, it just proves that Tien deserves more justice. Anyway, Roshi is performing much better by using a blindfold to suppress his urges, and he even tries to convince the convicts to revert back to the light side. However, the 3 of them weren't budging and ultimately agreed to use their ace in the hole, Fusion. And is it just me, or does she have quite a similar build to Rose Quartz? But don't let her BMI distract you, because she instantly overpowers both Krillin and Roshi. Moro and Sagambo arrive at the main battle, and before 17 could finish off 7-3, the GOAT is able to intervene by grabbing the android like a watermelon. Moro is unhappy that his abilities are being used so casually, so Shimareka gives his apology, confirming that they stood no chance otherwise. Moro then orders Shimareka to charge 7-3 back to 100% because he may use him later, and proceeds to go back to thinking about food, wondering how he's going to prep the main course. Sagambo then interjects and quite literally requests Moro for him to cook the Z fighters instead, so the goat obliges, but before the battle could commence he jolts Sagambo right in the back, providing his trademark Moro boost to power up the convict. Sagambo wastes no time in lunging in for 17, causing the android to skid across the floor, and 18 decides that her best contribution is to form a conga line behind her brother. It's at this point that everyone jumps in an attempt to immobilize this unstoppable force, but it's to no avail because Sagambo starts spinning everyone around, force feeding Gohan and 17 pure rocks. Meanwhile, Goku is close enough to Earth to sense his family and friends getting beaten to a pulp, but sadly he's not able to get a lock onto their shrinking ki. So as a final gamble, Krillin charges his ki to max, which allows Goku to use instant transmission to finally return to Earth. The Saiyan's return does not disappoint because he one-shots the Rose Quartz ripoff, causing her to defuse back into the 3 weaker criminals. Krillin catches Goku up to speed with the recent events and advises his friend to go help the others. And can we go back a bit because oh lord, someone get Roshi away from them. Anyway, Goku arrives at Yamcha's aid to gut check the criminal in front of them, and for a split second I thought the Saiyan was going to be charged for murder, but it turns out that Goku only knocked them out. In the meantime, Gohan and Piccolo are blasting Sagambo, but the convict walks right through it like a tank to punch the master and disciple. Jarko then gets on Vegeta's wavelength talking about Sagambo's pride, but he explains that they're content with following Moro's orders because he broke them all out of the galactic prison, and Jarko has balls of steel for this because he exclaims that Sagambo is even more pathetic now than when he was locked up.
You what?
I'm joking. Stop.
Before Sagambo could harm the patrolman, he suddenly gets smacked in the face, and it seems to appear that the convict is getting peppered by mere oxygen molecules. However, Gohan puts 2 and 2 together, realizing that this is not the heir's doing, but Goku's. Even more astonishingly, Jarko is the only one that can actually see the Saiyan, and both Gohan and Piccolo can't even lock onto his ki because he's moving that fast. Even Moro is elated at Goku's return, so in response the Saiyan tosses Sagambo at the goat, to which he flicks his underling away as if he was a fly, and Goku casually rocks up behind Moro to serve him the same treatment too. All of a sudden, Sagambo gets right back up, insisting that he can still fight for his goat, but Goku tells him to not try it because all of his friends have returned to the slammer. The convict roars out in defiance, which leaves Goku no choice but to put down Sagambo, and no word of a lie, Moro just shrugs off his empty threat. This next part has to solidify that Goku is a good father, because he flat out apologizes to Gohan for making him fight again, and even compliments both him and Piccolo with how hard they've trained. The Saiyan decides to take it from the top by transforming into Super Saiyan Blue, which confuses the goat, and all 5 Super Saiyan Blue fans were jumping in their seat because Goku completely curb stomps Sagambo so badly that he took the time out of his day to play ping pong with his body. Goku was certain that Sagambo won't get back up again, but the criminal does the exact opposite thanks to the Moro boost that he gained from the flick a minute ago. The goat injects Sagambo with even more power, causing the criminal to foam from the mouth, and this has Goku concerned that his body can't handle any more energy being pumped in. Moro then demands Goku to show him that technique again, saying that if he doesn't use the earlier form that enabled Goku to use those high speed movements, he's gonna force Sagambo to continue fighting him. Moro continues juicing up his minion as if there was no tomorrow, and this causes Goku to take matters in his own hands, but the goat cleanly blocks his attack without even looking at him. And in one of the most gruesome scenes in Super, Sagambo dies due to the Moro boost overdose. If the anime does come back, hopefully this scene remains uncensored. Moro mocks Sagambo even after death for not tolerating that nugget of energy, and Goku agrees with Vegeta, acknowledging that Moro really is just rotten scum after all. So the Saiyan decides to revert to base and powers up once more, enveloped in a divine aura. Moro deduces that this is no mortal ability, and the goat's conclusion was spot on because Goku is now using the first stage of the technique of the gods, Ultra Instinct Sign. So Goku activates Ultra Instinct Sign in front of Moro, but the goat is just surprised that a gorilla can tap into that divine technique, whilst Piccolo is ecstatic to see that the Saiyan can enable Sign at will now. Goku hits a beautiful stance to ready himself for combat, and the Namekian really interrupts to mention that the entire universe is at stake. Really supposed to have us gasping, and besides, fighting a universal threat in the Dragon Ball versus your typical Tuesday. With that out of the way, Goku begins by pulling his fist back to land a critical hit against the Devourer, continuously peppering him with air punches, forcing Moro to guard. The goat then loses his patience, so he yanks his arm up to turn the manga into a Michael Bay film, and the only reason he's done that was to fire Vegeta's technique of all things right at the Saiyan. Instead of using his high speed evasion, Goku homes at Moro like a bullet bill, and not only tries to act similar to Superman like in the original dub, but also tries to punch like him. The Saiyan smoothly glides behind the goat to deal a blow to his chest, providing a perfect window for Goku to go on the offensive. Acknowledging Goku's maxed out agility, Moro shrouds the Saiyan's hands and feet in a purple ki to immobilize him, encouraging Goku to flirt with the ground. However, he wasn't going to lose his memory a second time, so Goku breaks free of the paralysis to teleport behind Moro. This has the Saiyan inquiring if that was the goat's magic, so he simply tells Goku that it's one of his many tricks up his sleeve. Moro then attempts to electrocute Goku with his sheer aura alone, and that most likely had a certain Universe 6 fusion wishing she trademarked it. However, I have no clue why Moro thought to steal this 2018 move, because no sane person would bother to do so when the originator got embarrassed by 3 separate camera angles. Anywho, Goku notices that Moro's electricity has cremated Sagambo's corpse, so he advises his son and Piccolo to stay back to avoid the same fate. Before their departure, Gohan tells his dad to not worry about scarring the Earth, because they already have the Dragon Balls gathered to restore everything back to normal. With no need to restrain himself, Goku dashes into the danger zone to charge up a Kamehameha, but he delays its fire because the Saiyan does a complete 180 mid-air to shoot it in the other direction. Moro reappears looking absolutely bamboozled, and compliments Goku for being perceptive enough to see through the illusion. Goku explains that it's all thanks to watching Spider-Man Far From Home, and in the meantime Gohan and Piccolo are able to make it to safety, to which 18 wonders if Goku has gotten any stronger, but the Namekian doesn't even know because he can't sense Divine Ki. Anyway, Goku gives up on winning the Beam Clash, so Moro does the exact same, causing the two of them to dance together in the sky like it's Strictly. The Saiyan prepares to put this goat to sleep but ends up getting parried, so Goku lunges in with a kick instead, but Moro has already read him like a thesaurus. And do you want to know what Goku decides to do next? He rams into the goat with a headbutt. That's right, Goku has been training to master this angelic technique, only to start fighting Ooga Booga style. This ends up catching Moro off guard, leading to his descent, but the goat was like, "Get your ass back here! Goku realigns himself mid-air to throw a bunch of air punches at Moro, but the tyrant continues pulling him, causing the pair of them to interact with a punch in each other's sternums. Meanwhile, Gohan assumes that both his dad and Moro are on the same level, but the Namekian deduces that Goku has the speed advantage. However, he's unsure if that's enough to get the victory royale because Moro hasn't used his energy absorption yet, and Piccolo fumbled so hard here because that reminded the goat that he still had that technique in his locker. But even with his selling teammates, Goku is actually able to dodge the ability. The Saiyan slams Moro's cheek with a right hook before getting tossed aside, and is now adamant on landing his signature move, but is made to be super ineffective. The glazing comes into full fruition, where everyone is shocked that Goku somehow reached terminal velocity to dodge the energy absorption. You may as well call me a baker for commentating this next part, because Goku trampolines off Moro, weaves out of the goat's clutches with such tranquility, and completes a whole backflip to kick Moro straight in the ribs. That combo was so sublime that Moro nearly went straight into a coma. We then transition to Beerus's planet where the two angels are spectating this fight, and Whis is singing his brother's praises for training Goku to such an incredible degree. However, Whis is now curious to see if Goku will eventually use the silver hair, and this has Marus quaking in his boots because he knows that his teaching career is Man City. Anywho, the goat mistakes Goku for an incoming virus, so he puts down his firewall, and he begins to ponder why Goku desires to end this fight so early. Oh nah, Moro really changed his entire outlook on life, because he didn't just have Goku fighting like a Flintstone for a bit, but he's now actively suppressing his battle-hungry instincts. That's like a gambler completely losing their addiction when they're so as much in the presence of their worst enemy. Moro then tells Goku that he's made a grave mistake in assuming that he relies on the energy absorption to win, so the goat powers up even further, producing a bronze aura, and now the Devourer is certain that his time feeding has allowed them to trespass even the deities. Moro then proceeds to give the Saiyan a big old hug whilst generating a bunch of electricity, and this causes Goku to revert to base, with the goat realizing that he did not use Sign against Sagambo because he can't maintain it for long. Marus then tells his brother that Goku could not tap into the silver hair form during training, and Whis explains that Sign consumes a lot of stamina due to its instability, because the form is only meant to act as a gateway for perfected Ultra Instinct. Meanwhile, Moro had been patiently waiting for Goku's downfall, but the Saiyan continues to smile because he thinks that Moro stalling for time means that he can't handle his full power, so Goku taps into UI Sign once more with the intention of dropping the balancing act that Marus had taught him.
No, don't do it.
That's just rough. Imagine teaching your student for 2 whole months just for them to throw the in-game tactics out of the window. Anyway, both fighters begin charging their ki to max, which literally causes their auras to clash with one another. And in one of the coolest panels, Goku and Moro run at each other with their ki still on, ready to throw hands once again. However, Goku just remembered that he always comes first in a screaming contest, so he lets his lungs go wild, forcing Moro into the sky. The goat is prepared to blast the same, but Goku knocks it straight out of his hand, and then had Moro plummeting to earth, which almost had me thinking that Super Saiyan UI was canon. This was not enough to stop the Devourer, cause he starts moving like a prime Daquan to smash Goku's skull in. Moro attempts to continue the beatdown, but Goku successfully flings him off his leg, and out of everything in his arsenal, the Saiyan chooses to use Ki Blast spam to keep the goat at bay. This scene just encapsulates how useful that technique is, because Moro rushes right through for Goku, causing both combatants to lock hands together. Meris is now uncertain how long Goku can fight at full power while using UI Sign, so Whis hated to break it to his brother, but the balancing act idea would have been a complete and utter shambles. Goku then smacks Moro for him to dine on rocks, but no joke, the goat remarks that he actually overestimated the Saiyan, vowing to not lose to the likes of him. Thank God we're switching to Vegeta's POV because he's completed the Yardrat training, and Elder Paibara is pleased that he's mastered it in such little time. The prince then requests an Uber ride back to Earth, but the Yardrats explain that it's forbidden to teleport off their planet. In addition, they can only use instant transmission to teleport to someone they've met before. However, in this scenario, Elder Paibara has actually met Goku before but can't even detect his ki. Vegeta assumes it's because Goku is using Ultra Instinct, and so he demands Paibara to teach him the one and only instant transmission. Can we please stick to Vegeta's POV because Goku's getting completely violated? Did you guys just catch that? Moro really just weaved Ultra Instinct, looking so disappointed. Anyway, the goat mentions that them Saiyans have limits, and this triggers Goku so much that he started bulking his muscles to land the blow on Moro. I've never seen a Saiyan so giddy after landing one singular hit, but the goat made sure to turn that smile upside down by blasting him with a mouth cannon. And the goat interrupts that choir by stomping on Goku to revert him to base. Whis witnesses Goku's defeat and turns off the staff to go back to doing his own thing, but Meris is the only deity around that actually cares about the fate of the many planets in Universe 7. This prompts Whis to remind Meris that meddling with the natural life cycle of a planet is not necessarily a good thing, and to drive his point home, Whis explains that only Destroyer Gods and Lord Zeno are allowed to intervene in that process. Back on Earth, the goat is moments away from absorbing Goku's energy but gets stopped by the androids, and I'm pretty sure they've never done this before, but 17 and 18 channel electricity through their palms, slashing Moro's stomach with a literal X marks the spot. I really thought them two cooked with that move, but that sadly ended up doing 0 damage to the goat. With not enough stamina left to activate UI Sign, Goku is forced to sit on the sidelines, but that was a blessing in disguise because it allowed Vegeta to use instant transmission to finally get back to Earth. Goku is shocked to see him use that technique, but Vegeta assures that he most likely can't use that move ever again. The prince then tells 17 and 18 to let him have a go, and looks at Moro's face in absolute disgust before transforming into Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. As a Vegeta fan, you could not measure how hyped I was on the first read, but a second later all of that came crashing down, because my glorious prince proceeds to hit the infamous thumb pose once again.
He's done it again! That is a foul! You fucking little bastard!
Oh, I don't even know if I want to continue the rest of this video. Anywho, the prince rushes in to strike Moro's abdomen, however the goat is completely unfazed, making Vegeta look like a complete fraud. Even after that, the prince is still determined to put down the main villain, and this causes everyone to think that he's gone cuckoo. However, Piccolo reassures us all by saying that Vegeta is not one to misread an opponent's strength. Alright, this might be a hot take, but I don't think the Namekian statement is entirely wrong. Okay, just hear me out. I don't think Vegeta is underestimating his opponents. I think it's more so that Vegeta overestimates himself. Take for instance the battle with Goku in the Saiyan saga, because the whole time Vegeta was harping on the fact that a Saiyan elite like him could never be surpassed by a low class warrior. I get that he also trash talks his enemies, but he really does flex his royal blood a lot, which leads to his overestimation. Anyway, Moro grabs Vegeta like a baby to slam him into the floor, but suddenly the goat feels like he's getting weaker. Vegeta. And then Vegeta deals a blow of his own which causes energy to leak out of Moro. Suddenly the energy gathers into a ball in the sky, and Goku realizes that Vegeta is using that Yardratian technique, Force Spirit Fission. Vegeta then tells Moro that he's liberated all the life energy he's stolen and raises his hand to return it back to their rightful owners. Goku explains that the ability is used to tear apart things that are combined for fusion or absorption, and that it can also split assimilated beings like Piccolo as well. Goku gives props to Vegeta for learning a move that he couldn't, and the prince says it's because he's way more talented, affirming that victory is now his. At this point I almost feel sorry for Moro because he gets pummeled so badly that the goat starts regrowing his Gandalf beard. Meanwhile, Paibara explains that returning life energy won't bring back the races that have been dead for too long, but thankfully 2 months is a short enough time allowing for the Namekians to be resurrected again. Piccolo then embodies your typical slop channel by telling everyone how Vegeta has changed as a person and the fact that he's trying to atone for his previous sins. But seriously, is he just foreign to the concept of show don't tell? And besides, as a Dragon Ball fan, how am I meant to read these paragraphs of text? They just look like hieroglyphics to me. Vegeta then questions if they should lock him up with Diddy or eliminate him altogether, but Jarko encourages the prince to do the latter. Both the prince and the goat proceed to discuss about hell, where Vegeta thinks he'll end up there too, accepting that he's still a villain at the end of the day. Moro giggles at the notion of entering the underworld since he still has his magic, so the goat casually leaves the scene before Jarko can tell Vegeta that he's fled to the sky. Moro is able to get to a ship where he fries Shimaraka into a crisp and starts munching on 7-3. Vegeta notices this and fires a ki blast to interrupt the goat's snack, but unfortunately the thumb pose curse strikes once again, and Moro descends from his obliterated aircraft, revealing that he has now absorbed OG 7-3. So Moro has just absorbed OG 7-3 and explains that he created a whole backup within the android to use as cloud storage. I'll get this out nice and early, but I do understand when people say that Moro looks like a perfect Cell clone now. However, what were you expecting when he absorbs the one being with the most generic design in Dragon Ball history? But what really confuses me is that the people who complain about the form's lack of originality are also the same ones voting it as Moro's best design. Seriously, you can't have it both ways in this kind of discussion. And as for my favourite, just peek at my profile pic. Anywho, Vegeta storms out the crater vowing to age Moro once more, but this time he's unable to land a singular hit on the Devourer. Moro then realises he just has to dodge Vegeta's attacks to nullify Force Spirit Fission, but Piccolo remains optimistic, assuming that they can stall for half an hour for Moro to revert back to normal. And that's when the tyrant breaks the news that no such time limit exists due to his power returning home. Afterwards, Moro turns into a puff of smoke, seizing the chance to grab Vegeta by the neck, now meaning that he also has access to 7-3's copy ability. The tyrant lands a devilish combo, putting literal royalty on all fours, before charging up and firing the prince's own finisher, the Big Bang Attack. Once again, the thumb pose came back to bite Vegeta in the arse, but the most outrageous part is that Moro didn't think that the Big Bang Attack was good enough to deserve its actual name. Oh lord, roasting someone's moveset after violating said person with it is just another level of despicable. Piccolo then concludes that they're even more cooked than before, since Moro now has Force Spirit Fission thanks to Vegeta, so that means he can split Gogeta or Vegeto, making fusion entirely pointless. Overhearing this news, the sentient medkit that is Dende decides to fly to the battlefield, whilst Krillin tries his very best to deliver the Senzu beans to the rest of the Z fighters. Meanwhile, Gohan and Piccolo charge in unison, but they can't penetrate the goat's defenses. Moro uses this time to practice his free kicks before spraying the ki blast volley right at Gohan, and I kid you not, Vegeta's technique scared the half Saiyan so much that he made a force field to save his skin. Piccolo reaches for Moro's ankles prior to a direct headshot from his attack, however the Namekian still lays there determined to not let go, and just as Piccolo thought he was being useful, Moro confirms that he's keeping them all alive to serve as snacks instead of ordering from a Krispy Kreme. Speaking of which, Gohan steals Gotenks' move by summoning the Galactic Donuts to hold the tyrant in place, allowing for them to activate their trap card. That's where Goku steps in to deliver an instant transmission Kamehameha right at Moro, but the goat is casually holding it with a singular arm. The Saiyan pours the rest of his energy energy into the Kamehameha, which decimates the entire battlefield, but everyone's combined effort was not in vain since the ki wave successfully blew off Moro's arm. This left the tyrant momentarily flabbergasted, but a missing limb did not stop him from being a complete menace, because Moro strolls towards Goku, looks at him dead in the eye, before regrowing his limb through the Saiyan's chest. I had to put down the manga when I first saw that, because I honestly didn't think they had the guts to make this scene gory for Z standards, let alone the super anime. And what's even more insane is that this trick wasn't intended to instantly kill, because Moro wanted to feast on Goku's energy before he passed on. Just to clarify, Piccolo's gimmicks are benefiting the villains more than himself once again, since Moro keeps the abilities that 7-3 copied forever. Enraged that his father is missing a lung, Gohan rushes in to stop the goat in his tracks, but gets reminded that this is not superhero with a devious backhand, which has Gohan speaking like Daffy Duck. Suddenly, Piccolo receives a telepathic message from Dende that he's on the way to patch everyone up, but Moro proceeds to hop into their Discord server uninvited, now fascinated by the Namekian's healing abilities. He then fires an energy shot, producing a barrier to stop Dende from entering, and gets back to the show by quizzing the androids.
Gun to the back of your head, name 5 DDG songs.
Piccolo then apologizes to Jarko for dragging him into their battle, but the patrolman takes responsibility for Moro escaping their prison to begin with. So as a final hoorah, the Namekian charges up a full power light grenade, preparing to turn everything inside into smithereens. However, the light grenade couldn't get a sniff of redemption from the Cell Saga, because Moro lands the cleanest bullseye with the special beam cannon, and now with Piccolo out, Jarko's the only one remaining in the arena still standing. Meanwhile, Dende is loathing himself for failing to help protect the Earth as its god, but suddenly the barrier opens thanks to a certain angel who's insisting, as Goku would say, that it isn't over yet. Inside the barrier, Jarko warns Moro to stay back, but the Devourer has zero interest in munching on the patrolman's energy because he doesn't want a stomach bug. Jarko responds by firing his pistol, which Moro isn't startled by, until a second shot enters the scene, exploding the area around him. The tyrant deduces that the bullet was imbued with the patrolman's own ki, and that's when Jarko figures out that he's actually referring to Merus. He apologizes to the patrolman for taking ages to arrive, but explains he's here to complete the final touches of Goku's training. Merus's presence alone had distracted Moro enough for the Z fighters to be evacuated to safety, making the barrier a waste of time. However, when the goat attempts to track Goku and the others, Merus instantly dashes towards him, initiating combat with his trusty staff. This left Moro puzzled because he swore that he sensed the agent's ki earlier, which now has him suspecting that Merus must be some kind of deity. The patrolman ignores his assumption by dishing out multiple jabs, but when Moro tries to deliver a counterattack, Merus ducks underneath the punch like a game of limbo and clicks the button on his stuff, which has the goat stargazing. Meanwhile, Beerus is getting sick of doing favors for the rest of the gang, but wants to be certain that Dende can heal everyone before heading to Bulma's place to munch on some gourmet. The God of Earth takes a few moments to patch up Goku's gaping wound, but the Saiyan springs to his feet at the mere mention of Merus's name. Goku then thanks Dende for everything before heading off to cease the angel's erasure, and we cut to Moro deploying the I-beams as a distraction to ultimately disarm Merus. Moro proceeds to act like an actual goat before spamming Vegeta's technique once again. However, the angel evades it seamlessly by performing a bunch of jumping jacks, and thankfully had enchanted his staff of loyalty to block Moro's fist. Before the tyrants could grasp the angel's true motives, Goku intervenes in their battle by tapping into UI sign once more. However, the Saiyan must be suffering from a concussion because he really thought he was cooking something delicious, despite Moro having already outclassed Goku in that state. The Saiyan gets frustrated that he can't tap into perfected Ultra Instinct, but Merus reassures that the training did in fact work, now only needing one final push to trigger it. Suddenly, Moro grabs the angel by the neck with the intention of copying his abilities. However, Merus slices his arm off like butter, now ready to begin the sealing process. Beerus then realizes that the angel has started using his powers, annoyed at Whis for not mentioning it, since the Grand Priest will pin all the blame on the Destroyer. Meanwhile, Merus explains to Goku of his angelic origins, and uses the Force to have Moro looking all goofy, destroying the first crystal mid-conversation. The angel continues, clarifying that he's meant to act as a spectator no matter how ruined the universe becomes, Angels, but throughout his time with the Galactic Patrol, a certain something had blossomed within him, a sense of justice. Afterwards, Merus parries all of Moro's blows with such perfection, highlighting the Patrol agents as complete fodder on a universal scale. But even then, he still admires them anyway for sticking to their convictions in the face of adversity. The Angel resumes his ceiling by launching Moro to the stratosphere, and concentrates on aiming his staff to shoot off the second crystal out of 3. That's when Merus concludes his speech by thanking the Galactic Patrol for making him realise that peace in the galaxy is worth hanging on to after all. I love that Merus is the complete antithesis of Zamasu, where despite being a deity much further up the ladder than the Kai, he had actually gained a mortal complex instead. That's why I'm convinced that the Zero Mortals plan wouldn't have brewed up if Zamasu just had the Angel as a teacher, since Merus would have properly shown him the good in mortals, unlike Goasu, especially with that first-hand experience. Anywho, Beerus and Whis arrived too late to stop Merus from becoming transparent. However, the Angel was dead set on landing one more attack before his inevitable erasure. As he charges towards Moro, Merus reminisces a conversation back in the time chamber, where he was inspired by Goku's countless heroics. The Saiyan tells him that he doesn't think about it too much since he's more focused on leaving the villains alive for a much better fight later. Merus assumed that Goku's intention was to reform villains like the Galactic Patrol, but the Saiyan says to not give him too much credit, mentioning that he just finds it way more exciting, which leaves the Angel absolutely fascinated. Back in the present, Moro lobs a ki blast at Merus, but he shields his head, blasting right through it. The Tyrant spots this, attempting to launch another one, but Merus has already arrived at Moro's front doorstep, smashing the very last crystal on his forehead to seal the copy ability permanently. Merus notices that he's begun fizzing away, leaving Goku staring in absolute horror. However, the Angel imparts that if the Saiyan can activate Ultra Instinct now, it'll be far more stable than before, meaning that he won't possibly lose to Moro or anyone else for that matter. The Patrolman then gives one final message to Goku, like the one that 16 gave to Gohan, affirming that he had truly come to love this universe which bubbles with excitement, and begs for his Saiyan friend to protect it all before vanishing away in a puff of smoke for good. So Merus has sadly passed away, which has Goku standing there in a quiet rage. The Saiyan then acknowledges that he's not fighting alone and directs the blame onto himself for Merus' sacrifice, understanding that the Angel did so not just for Goku but for the sake of the whole universe. Goku continues to swell in anger, however instead of acting on his emotions in typical Dragon Ball fashion, he inhales a breath of fresh air to calm himself down, and questions why Jarko had originally joined the Galactic Patrol. The Patrolman exclaimed he desires to preserve peace in the galaxy, and also wear the clean uniform, which was Merus' exact reasoning too, signified by the Galactic Patrol symbol engraved on his gi. The Saiyan accepts that he bears the same responsibility, affirming that it's currently his job to stop Moro's reign of terror. The Tyrant recovers from Merus' punch, confused about where he scurried off to, but Goku reveals Merus' tragic fate, ready to finally carry out his Angel friend's dying wish. The storms a second ago settled down, leaving an eerie silence, with Goku unveiling perfected Ultra Instinct. Without hesitation, the Saiyan strides towards Moro, and I kid you not, every step closer gradually heightens the fear in the goat to the point where he's begging for Goku to social distance. However, Moro fell victim to the Saiyan's clutches, and let's just say that the rest was history. Assuming it was a fluke, the Devourer charges straight at Goku for payback, but the Saiyan proceeds to parry each one of his blows without daring to glance at the perfect Cell clone. Goku then sprinkles an ounce of disrespect by pulling his arm all the way back to evade Moro's kicks. All I'm gonna say is that throughout their fight, Goku's disrespect will slowly pile up until it becomes a landfill. Anywho, Beerus notices that Goku is fine tweaking his moves to avoid becoming Flat Stanley, where the Saiyan mentions that his body is moving on its own, crushing the glimmer of hope that Moro had to land a singular attack. In response, the Tyrant screeches to reach full power, creating a smokescreen, but Goku prepares for his next move by aiming his arms forward. Moro then dashes right through the smoke to catch Goku off guard, but the Saiyan utilizes his divine arsenal by unleashing the God Bind to teach Moro musical statues, switches to one-hand mode to drift him all the way into the sky, and what he does next has to rival the similar thing he did against Frieza, cause Goku clenches his fist to max to dish out the most devious sternum check. And yes, those gusts of wind were so strong that even Beerus and Whis felt it. The Destroyer then gives his plaudits to Goku for fighting like a true deity, but tells him to finish the job so they can go feast. Moro eventually crashes back down to Earth with so much excruciating pain to the point where he can't even stand up for longer than 5 seconds. Goku questions if he now sympathizes with the very innocents he slaughtered, but Moro demands to not be treated like a uni student. That's where the Tyrant declares that the god's creations are for him to devour and powers up once more, spewing lava from the ground. Any other person would be fearing for their life, but Goku really just said, as if a baby had just spilled drink on the carpet. Moro reminds the Saiyan that the fate of the Earth lays in his hands before attempting to perform a stealth takedown. However, Goku reads right through him like a manual, causing Moro to receive the Mustafar treatment. It's even more fitting because the Tyrant had lost the same arm that Anakin did during his battle with Kenobi. Goku then zooms into Moro's abdomen, launching him into a cliff face at terminal velocity, where a boulder tumbles onto the Devourer's head, now having the nerve to plead for help. Afterwards, Goku inquires if Moro was sentenced to death, to which Jarko replies yes, and upon hearing this, the Saiyan rips off his shirt, deciding to fight as an Earthling from now on, resigning from the Galactic Patrol. Goku turns the boulder into sand, ordering Moro to get back up, but when he complies, the Saiyan leaves the scene, teleporting beside Krillin to snatch the sensu beans right off him before returning to Moro's location. Goku makes a deal saying that he'll only let the Tyrant live if he goes back to the Slammer, to which Moro latches onto, taking advantage of Goku's mercy. The Saiyan then flicks a bean to the Devourer, instructing him to chow down so that his HP is fully restored. I understand that Goku is doing this to carry out Merit's will as shown in the time chamber. However, you soon realise that there is literally no point of this scene, because as Jarko said, you can still have Moro escorted back to prison to highlight Goku's act of mercy without the need of healing him. Anywho, Moro regrows both antler and arm thanks to the bean, with Goku now expecting the Tyrant to keep his end of the deal. However, Moro breaks the promise like the scum he is and tries to pierce through Goku's chest once again. But in one of the coldest moments, the Saiyan keeps still, causing Moro's arm to snap like a Toblerone. This goes to show the fruits of Goku's intense training, since honing the technique to this degree allows the body to harden automatically. In my headcanon though, I like to think that Moro was perceived as so weak that the Saiyan's body did not register the attack as an actual threat. Remember when I said the disrespect will pile up? Yeah, it gets way worse because Goku proceeds to call Moro a coward, squats to his level reverting to base, and does all that to ask him if he has ever gone to the gym. After all that, you have to agree that the Moro arc showcased UI much better than the anime Tournament of Power. Here it actually feels like a divine technique relied on a calm state, whereas Goku was raging at Jiren for his friends back in the tournament, which made it just feel like another power-up. Anyway, Moro thinks that training is only for the weak, which saddens Goku because he'd be a great sparring partner if the Devourer wasn't so evil. Jarko intervenes as the voice of reason, pushing Goku to finish him off, and this has Moro tweaking because he got violated by a tribe that only emerged recently. For the very last time, the Saiyan wants to know if the Tyrant will quietly return to his cell, but before Moro could reply, he spots the severed arm that copied Merit's abilities and remains adamant on laying waste to the universe. Goku responds by powering back up to UI to fulfill Merit's wish, with Moro wondering who that angel really was, so Goku mentions that he taught him how to achieve a divine state. Moro was straight grinning at this realization, so he pulls the hand towards himself, ecstatic to now give the technique a test drive. The Tyrant then completes surgery on his arm and awakens to a newfound power, confirming that he's begun his free trial for Merit's Ultra Instinct. Both fighters lunge at each other, colliding with their their fists, which turns the wasteland into a war zone, leaving Goku no choice but to attract Moro away from the Earth's surface. The Devourer tries to sneak a few hits in mid-flight, however Goku is unfazed by them, continuing to blast away to avoid harming the planet. Moro literally undergoes mitosis for his clone to diverge onto a different path, and the two combatants begin soaring across the entire Earth, where the clone arrives all the way from Bangladesh to slam the Saiyan out of orbit. The Saiyan catches himself to nullify fall damage and pats the dust off before telling Moro to try a bit harder, leaving the Devourer completely fuming. Goku kicks into Moro's guard, causing the tyrant's limbs to inflate strangely, and that's when Whis clocks that his body is trying its best to contain the angelic power coursing through it. It gets so bad that Moro now looks like an overgrown Teletubby, so Goku explains that he can't just use UI when he sees fit, since Moro would need to hone his body first to do so. This now leaves two options for the tyrant: abandon Meris's powers or be destroyed by them. The Devourer tries to silence him but gets immediately swatted away, which has Moro praying for a vessel that can withstand this angelic power. Whis hears this and advises Goku to finish him this instant for safe measure, but before the Saiyan could give his goodbyes, Moro's head emerges out the ground itself, blasting Goku with his vile breath. The tyrant exclaims he's become one with the earth, and the angel informs Goku that Moro and the planet share the same fate now, where killing the Devourer means that the whole galaxy goes along with him from the angelic energy. That's when Moro starts gobbling the earth's essence and everyone living on it while surrounding Goku within the palms of his hands. With how dire the situation has become, Beerus begrudgingly offers his aid, hoping that the other destroyers don't see this. However, Whis receives a notification from the Grand Priest to arrive at the palace immediately to discuss Meris's erasure. This has Beerus pretending he couldn't care less about the planet, but we all know he's devastated that the one place with half decent food will soon become confetti. Whis levitates towards Goku to inform him that the only way to destroy Moro is to shatter the crystal on his forehead, like Meris did earlier, which should release the god power. The angel really thought we wouldn't notice this next part, because he casually blocks Moro's punch with an index finger, encouraging Goku to believe in himself before bidding the gang a farewell. The Devourer tries to turn himself into an eighth wonder of the world, concealing the crystal from view, but thankfully Vegeta arrives, peppering him with 4 spirit fission for the crystal to enlarge again. Goku then rushes in, weaving past Moro's numerous limbs to land his fist in the top corner. However, the tyrant proceeds to make a world-class save, protecting the clean sheet, which has the Saiyan wishing for more god power. Not gonna lie, United should try to sign Moro before the transfer window ends, cause trust me, he wouldn't be making the same mistakes that Anana did against Brighton. Anywho, Jarko hears god power and flies to the lookout whilst Goku is being drained of his energy, reverting him to base. The rest of the Z fighters then arrive, where Piccolo questions if Vegeta can perform spirit fission in reverse, so the prince affirms that it's the same principle, allowing for everyone to donate their energy to Goku, including the people on the lookout and Goten and Trunks thanks to Piccolo's message. Vegeta tosses the culminated key at his Saiyan friend, causing him to successfully activate the thrusters again. However, the gifted energy was only enough for Goku to reach Super Saiyan Blue. Jarko approaches the lookout, questioning Boo's whereabouts, but no one has a slight clue, and the Z fighters have now accepted their demise because Moro's so far gone that he's really close to blowing up on his own accord. However, all hope is not lost because a massive ball of divine power makes its presence known, and it turns out that the Grand Supreme Kai was in a random village all along, helping none other than Oob to donate all this divine ki. Vegeta throws it right at Goku, which blinds the whole area, causing the formation of the Saiyan's very own ki avatar to hold Moro in place, and within its forehead Goku returns to perfected Ultra Instinct, shattering the very last crystal, which disassembles Moro into numerous Lego pieces, ending the tyrant once and for all. The Grand Supreme Kai switches back to Fat Boo with no recollection of his time as the deity, and Eska is returned home using the Namekian Dragon Balls to revive the people killed by Moro. The Galactic Patrol then hold an award ceremony for their valiant efforts, dishing out medals to Goku, Vegeta, Jarko, Boo, and even Meris. Goku now thinks he's staring at Casper the Ghost, but the patrolman explains he only had ceased to exist as an angel. Meanwhile, the Grand Priest scolds Universe 7's deities for allowing such a tragedy to happen, but informs them he had temporarily erased Meris before resurrecting him again as a mortal, meaning that he now has a lifespan and lost access to his angelic powers. Whis inquires why he felt the need to be so merciful, and his dad explains that he was moved by a certain Kai willing to sacrifice his own life for Meris's, aka Shin. However, due to their involvement, the Grand Priest had given the three of them a punishment: entertain the Xenos in the form of horse riding whilst giving their personal guards a 2-week holiday. And with all that, peace is held up once more in the universe, which finally concludes the best arc in Super by a country mile.